Chelsea Sherrod here with Zach Cox at Gillette Stadium. And Zach, we're braving the nor'easter here. The Patriots brought things inside, holding their first indoor practice of the season as they prepare for the LA Chargers. And Zach, the Pats, big win on Sunday. They're looking to take this momentum from Week 7 and bring it into Week 8. What did players have to say about that today?
Yeah, I think that's really the big message is maintaining this momentum, because as big of a win as this was this past weekend, it was still against the Jets, still against one of the worst teams in the NFL. All three of the Patriots' wins so far this season have come against some of the worst teams in the NFL, 2 against the Jets, 1 against the Houston Texans. This week against the Chargers will be a chance for them to prove that they can beat a legitimate playoff contender. They've proven already that they can play with those types of teams. Barely lost to the Buccaneers, barely lost to the Cowboys, but this is a chance for them to prove that they can actually get it done in one of these games.
Definitely. And they were down a few guys against the Jets, too, and they had some guys leave the game. We can talk about Dante Hightower, Devin McCourty, Jonnu Smith, but there's perfect attendance today at practice. Can you talk about their recovery?
Yeah, definitely a positive sign today at practice, because as you mentioned, the Patriots have been hit really hard by injuries recently. Dante Hightower didn't play last week. You saw Smith, McCourty, Carl Davis, a bunch of players left this game with injuries. Patriots placed a couple guys on injured reserve this week in Jonathan Jones and Harvey Longy, but other than those, they did have perfect attendance. It was certainly a positive sign to see players like Jonnu Smith and Devin McCourty back at practice today, because you never know what the status of a guy is going to be after he leaves a game with an injury. We still don't know what their level of participation was. We'll learn that once the injury report comes out later today, and that'll give us maybe a better sign toward whether they will be playing this weekend. But the fact that they were out on the field at all is definitely a positive development.
Definitely. And speaking about this defense, this Chargers offense is one of the top teams in the league in fourth quarter scoring. They've got about 59 points on the season. How important is it for this defense to play all 60 minutes on Sunday?
It's certainly important both in the fourth quarter and throughout the entire game. This is an offense that has the potential to be explosive at any point in the game. You look at Justin Herbert, second-year quarterback, who's gotten a lot of praise from Bill Belichick this week. The weapons around him, you got Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler in the backfield is probably one of the more underrated running backs in the league. This is a very talented Chargers offense. I think the Patriots defense has played well of late. It's had some good moments, certainly, but earlier in the year, especially, finishing games was a little bit of an issue. They would come down to those kind of final pivotal drives and just not be able to get it done. That's certainly going to be necessary against a team like the Chargers.
Definitely. What also is going to be necessary is this offense. And I feel like Mac's kind of been finding his stride. I mean, they looked good on Sunday. And like you said, okay, granted it was against the Jets, but they looked good. But this Chargers defense is going to make them work. How important is it for this Patriots offense to get out to a fast start and kind of keep their foot on the gas, so to speak?
It's certainly important, and I think that's something the Patriots have been doing a lot better in recent weeks. They scored touchdowns on their first 2 drives in this past game against the Jets, scored touchdowns on their first 2 drives in the Cowboys game, almost scored touchdowns on their first 2 drives against Houston a couple weeks back if Damian Harris hadn't fumbled on the goal line. So slow starts, really an issue for them early in the season, has not been so lately, and I think that's been one of the keys to this offense really kind of starting to hit its stride. Also, you're seeing continued development from Mac Jones. You're seeing an emergence of Hunter Henry, the tight end, has touchdowns in each of his last 4 games. You're definitely seeing positive strides from this Patriots offense. Also in the red zone, 8 for 8 in the red zone in the last 2 games. But I think the run game is going to be important for the Patriots in this game. This is a talented Chargers defense. It's led by Brandon Staley, who was the defensive coordinator of the Rams last year. Rams really successfully shut down the Patriots. But if you look at some of their stats, they're 32nd in the league in run defense, DVOA. They have not defended the run well at all this year. They've played some talented rushing offenses, but the Patriots over the last couple of weeks have really looked like a team that can kind of grind down people on the ground. Damian Harris and that offensive line have been playing really well. So that's definitely going to be a matchup I'll be watching in this game. Yeah.
And last question for you, Zach. Everyone's thinking about this. We're about halfway through the season, right? So we're thinking about the playoffs. Are the Patriots going to return to the playoffs? How could this win on Sunday, or a win on Sunday, kind of give them some hope and playoff implications?
It would be huge, both from a hope perspective and just from a actual statistical standings perspective, because if you think the Patriots are probably not going to challenge the Buffalo Bills for that top spot in the AFC East, you're going to be looking at that wild card seeding And the Chargers are a team that's going to be right in that mix. The Cleveland Browns, who the Patriots play in a couple weeks, going to be right in that mix. Most likely the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts, who are on their schedule, right in that mix. Those are going to be very important games. I mean, obviously every game is going to be important for this Patriots team, even the ones against NFC opponents, but those conference games, those divisional games, it seems a little early to start talking about playoff seeding and all that, but those are the games that are going to matter come December and January.
Definitely, Zach. So good. Thank you so much. We're going to try to stay warm, and so are the Patriots as they head out to LA for some sunshine for their Week 8 matchup against the Chargers.